This week's Talk of the Town covers water conservation. Eric Marble with Chanshare Sod Farms offers tips and tricks, while Public Works Director Paul Fulgham gives an overview of Tremonton City's secondary system and water history. Watch until the end to see what events are planned for Haydays.
My name's Eric Marble and I'm with Chanshare Sod Farms. I do all of their social media and public relations. I talk a lot about water conservation and how to maintain a lawn in a manner that actually saves water. We started growing sod in 1979. It was my dad and my grandpa and my uncles. They decided to take a chance on sod and to share the profits. So that's where the name came from, Chanshare. But we've been growing sod since 1979, all up and down the Wasatch Front. We do all kinds of projects, including like houses and commercial projects and sports fields and golf courses. We're actually just finishing a golf course up in Park City this week, and so and we ship in Idaho and Wyoming and Nevada and all up and down the Wasatch Front as well. On any given year, anywhere between 600 and 1,000 acres of sod that we cultivate. We take anywhere between 6 and 18 months to let the grass mature, so that once we harvest it, it doesn't go into shock as much. A lot of people ask, like, if we have to bring in more soil and stuff like that, and we don't. Like once we harvest the field, you still got the roots in there, so the roots can regrow. Usually, what we'll do is we'll overseed, and we will also do some deep tine aeration in order to open up the soil. And then, like I said, at the quickest, we can grow a crop in about 6 months, but generally it will take longer than that, about like 6 to 18 months in order to have a mature crop. We have several different fields. Like our biggest product is the sod, and it's water-wise sod. It's certified by the TWCA, which is the Turf Grass Water Conservation Alliance. It's well suited for the Utah and the Intermountain area. We do have some alfalfa fields and stuff like that, but sod and installation is the mainstay of what we do. In northern Utah, we have cool season grasses, which means that it starts growing really quickly, both roots and blades, in the early spring. And then once temperatures reach about 85 degrees, it slows dramatically. And then in the end of the fall, in the middle of the fall, it actually increases as well. So you want to start watering as late in the season as you can. So like this year, we had so much moisture, like you probably shouldn't have started your sprinklers until about May or June. In the heat of the summer, you run your sprinklers a little bit more. We recommend about 1 inch of water every 6 to 7 days. And if you can get that all in one cycle, then you should do that, because watering deep and infrequently is a lot better than watering just at like 15 minutes a day or whatever. Early in the morning is usually is usually best, so like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and there's a couple of reasons for that. That's usually when it's the coolest, so especially in the summer when it's like super hot, you can get a lot of evaporation, and so between 2 and 6 a.m. that's when it's the coolest in the ground temperatures. In addition to that, not many people are showering or washing clothes or whatever, so your water pressure is going to be better during that. We recommend not watering between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. As far as day of the week, it really doesn't matter. Just making sure that you're, again, consistent, that you water deeply and infrequently. You need to make sure that you're fertilizing your lawn, and we recommend 4 fertilizations a year. And major holidays, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, and then Halloween. And Halloween is the absolute most critical of them all. But if you see that your lawn isn't responding well to watering, then it may not have nutrients that it needs. So again, do a fertilization around Independence Day. We're just past Independence Day right now, so that's a really good thing. But then also make sure that you're maintaining it too. If you see brown spots that aren't responding to water, you could have bill bugs or grubs in your lawn. So applying a season-long grub control, usually towards the end of May, is the best time to do that. But if you do see spots in your lawn that don't respond to the watering, then make sure that you're looking for bug control and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is just to make sure that you're watching your grass. It's always better to keep your grass taller because that allows it to push the roots further down into the ground. And when it pushes the roots down into the ground, it can pull from a greater water table, and so you don't have to water it as much. So just watching your grass and making sure that you respond. If there's a spot that looks like it's not getting enough water, instead of running a whole cycle, you can drag a hose and put a hose end sprinkler on that instead of running the whole cycle. And also, don't be afraid to let your lawn brown out in the middle of the summer. If it gets too hot, your lawn just isn't doing well, bluegrass, Kentucky bluegrass, can actually survive on less than half an inch of water in a month. Now it'll go brown and it'll look like it's dead, but as long as it has that half inch in 1 month, then once you start watering it again, it'll green up. So if you really want to save water, you can brown out your lawn like through the month of August, and then at the end of that, just start watering it again and fertilizing, and it'll come right back. Again, a lot of people think when they think water conservation, some people will just look at that and say, well, you can't conserve water with grass. But grass has a function, and when you put it in a landscape, it definitely is something where kids and pets and stuff like that, you can really make good use of turf in a landscape. And the biggest thing is, if you maintain it correctly, it will be water wise. So do everything you can to get those roots deep. Make sure that you're fertilizing on a regular basis and watching out for weeds and pests. And if you do that and water infrequently and deeply, then you're going to have a water-wise lawn and a beautiful environment that you can play on. You can check out our social media. We've got Instagram and Facebook, and then also our website has a lot of good information on lawn care, how to determine what weeds you have, and maybe if you've got some possible problems with bugs or whatever with that. And then at any time, if you have any problems, you can call into our office, which the number's easy to remember, 866-SOD-EASY, and they'll tell you their take on what you may have problems with. You can send them an email showing the problem, and they can give you some tips on how to take care of that as well.
A little introduction about Tremonton City Water. Tremonton City was incorporated in 1903. In 1906, roundabout, the city fathers decided to put a water system in to bring water out of the canal. I think Mayor Lyles did a couple of Facebook articles on them, on what they've done. This is a piece of the original water line that was put in. If you look, it's a redwood line, and you can see it's got little tongue and grooves. This is a 4-inch main. The one thing it doesn't have, to put it in the case, it was wrapped with a big steel wire, and that wire's been taken off, but that also helped keep it together. But they had that, and then they had a corporation stop, which was the shut off at the top, and then what they used, what we call a lead gooseneck. It made it possible for them to come off the top of the pipe or on an angle and then bend it and straighten it back up to tie into the galvanized service that went to people's homes at the time. And like I said, this was put in 1903. It was used to bring water from the West Canal, and we don't know exactly where, but I assume it was just right up ahead of the drop, which would be currently behind Malto Mill. And that would give a little bit of pressure in the town, because for every basically 2.3 feet of elevation, you get 1 pound of pressure. So if you think you want 50 pounds of pressure, you got to have over 100 feet, 130 feet of head drop to be able to create that kind of pressure without having to put a pump on it. And back in the day, pumps were far and few between. And so this was put in, and it stayed in use until around the mid-1930s, and then the city got money, I'm sure, from the Roosevelt administration, the WPA project, and we put cast iron lines to replace these, which were larger lines, could handle more pressure. And the city purchased a spring on the hill, the west hill around from the BR, called the Johnson Spring, and actually installed a concrete storage tank that held 112,000 gallons of water, which before they had no storage. And they put some fire hydrants in. But that was the start of the Tremonton City water system. From what I was told is they continue to use this pipe here to bring canal water into town until the 50s, when it was leaking so bad the secondary water system was abandoned throughout Tremonton, and we went to using all culinary or potable water on our lawns and our gardens. But I just thought that'd be a nice little piece of history. This here pipe came out up from around the library area in town. I think the city crew dug it up about the mid-90s when we were doing some road work and some construction up in that area. Meters are a key part of water conservation. You think about it, if you had no means to measure your speed on the highway, you would go probably as fast as you felt comfortable with. And it would be the same way with metering water. If you had no meter on your system, you would probably use water until you felt comfortable that, hey, I could just shut it off. Well, metering helps us keep track of what you use and help the homeowners keep track of what they use so that we can more efficiently water our lawns. And they are, you hate to say this, they are the city's, the water department, the utility department, they are our cash register. By what goes through is how we bill customers. And that way we can fairly bill customers. I'll show you this one. These were used up until about 1988. We had a variety of them, but I picked this one because this is one of the oldest ones. And if you can look at it, it has dials. And the city employee that read the meters had to go around and write down where every one of those little hands were touching. And that's how we recorded how many gallons went through the meter each month. Had no totalizer, just basically what was totaled up on the register there itself. They had very different variations. The Tremonton City didn't have one specific meter. They just had a variety of meters that usually they picked up either brand new or rebuilt from a meter provider. In around 1987, 88, 89, the city changed out and went to all the same meter. This was a Badger meter, and it's a what we call a positive displacement meter. Has a little disc that moves around inside that measures the water. But if you see, this now has a hand that indicates and moves and shows water movement, but it has what we call a totalized register. So it totalizes from every drop of water that goes through that meter. These were good. They could measure anywhere, usually in a quarter gallon a minute range if you had a slow leak. But they're good. They were efficient meters, and they made the city more efficient. We are required annually to report to the Division of Drinking Water and Water Resources and Water Rights what our water use is per day, per month, per year. So in about 2001, the city went to a new meter. And it was a master meter, worked a little bit different, but was just as good as this. And we started doing radio read meters. And you probably might have seen this in your house. And an employee, instead of coming around and writing down the readings off of this on a monthly basis, it would take about 5 employees a week. He would drive around the neighborhood, and these meters would actually send out a signal to him, and the radio and the computer system would pick it up. One employee could do in about 3 days what it would take 5 employees to do in a week, walking around, and then they would go to the office, hand them a thumb drive, and it automatically put it into the office computer, where these were written on a piece of paper, a sheet, and then the office personnel in our treasurer's department would have to 10 key in all the water usage that went in. And so you can see from writing down to 10 keying in, possibilities of mistakes, to where this one here, it goes right from the register to the computer to the other computer without human hand touching it. Now we've started evolving into not a radio system, but one what we call a fixed base, where these have a little antenna that hooks to them. And you'll notice these on your meter box. We have probably around 50% changed out in the city. And it's an expensive adventure, but what this does is twice a day, this downloads into the city computer. It goes to a receiver up and down, and they talk about the cloud. It goes to the cloud and then back to the city. And twice a day, this will update the city's computer on water usage. The other beauty of this is if you have one of these in front of your home, the city can help you set up your own account to where you can monitor your own water usage. You're able to go in there and set some parameters in. Say you go on vacation and you shouldn't have any water use. This will indicate whether you have water use. So you could find out if you have a leak or not, and you could contact the city. We could go shut off your meter if you think you have a leak. But also it just allows you to better control your water usage. Now with the secondary water, we all know city's right in the middle of putting secondary throughout town. And the reason why is new water development is really difficult with the regulations put on by EPA and the Utah Division of Drinking Water. And so it's hard to find a good high-grade potable water that meets all the EPA standards. And so by taking the outdoor water usage off of Tremonton City water system, which in the summertime we were producing about 70% of our water just to use outside, then we're able to make our potable water, our culinary water, go a lot further without us having to spend huge amounts of money trying to develop or find other sources of culinary water. Well, because of the quality of the water and because of state requirements and because of the fairness of metering, the city has elected to, if I can get it open, go with a meter. This is called a Sonata, and it is actually an ultrasonic meter that if you look through there, there's no moving parts. All of these have moving parts. This does not. It goes through and it senses the velocity of the water, and it knows because of the velocity and the amount of water that can go through that chamber, it can measure water down to tenths of a gallon of movement through that meter. And this also will be hooked to an antenna, so your account will have 2 meters attached to it, one for culinary and one for secondary. And you can manage your secondary water just like you manage your culinary water. When this is all said and done, the citizens will have a better opportunity to manage their own water use. But this is the future, and with state law, every new secondary system has to have meters installed. Older systems are encouraged to, but they're not required at this point. But by 2030, they are being told that they will be required to monitor or meter all water. And so it just makes for a more efficient use. And actually, if you think about it, it's the fair way to do water, because then everyone's on the same level ground. No matter if you're a single widow living in a home and uses inside her house 1,000 gallons of water a month, to a larger family, our industry, our commercial, we are all on the same footing and pay for what we use.
How long you've been with the city, and what's your experience with Public Works?
I've been in with the city a total of almost 27 years. I worked for the city for 4 years, and then I left and went to work for a private association that worked with cities and towns and water companies, doing water and wastewater consulting, helping them figure out problems, solve problems, set rates. I mean, every aspect of water and wastewater is what we did. And then in December of 2000, the city hired me to come back and be their public works director. And so I've been that for almost 23 years. Back in 18, when we first started charging for secondary water, as far as putting in meters and charging per gallons used, it was a big controversy. I will say, beat up pretty bad. And at the time, we'd set the secondary rates for that system to pay for itself. You have to realize, our culinary system has been in place, so some of our system's been in 100 years. Well, that pipe, even though some of it's still good, working, it's been paid for a long time. Well, the secondary system, you have to realize, that's brand new pipe. Think about what something would have cost back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s versus what it costs today. And so, because secondary was a new venture, we set the rates to pay for it on secondary customers. So that made the rates actually higher than the culinary rates. And so what the city did is we came back and rethought that venture and kept secondary, but what we did is we combined the 2 utilities together. So actually the culinary helps subsidize the secondary until we get enough users on there, and that balance will tip and go the other way. But we have to have it to make our culinary water go further. And we have to have meters to push and strive for conservation. The way conservation would work is you raise the water rates high enough to where people want to conserve because it's hitting their budget. Well, back in, 2020, when the governor came out and says, look, we have to conserve water because we're in this severe drought. We put out to our public that and let them know that, the water belongs to the state of Utah. Tremonton City, we have a right that we file on to put it to beneficial use. If we're abusing that right, the state does have the right to come back and take our rights away from us. And that year there, we asked for citizens to conserve water, and it truly happened. We have a lot of internal growth. By able to utilize the secondary water, it allows us to continue to have the beautiful lawns that we have. We are in a desert. It's a high desert, so we receive snow, but if you look at our rainfall and our annual water, 14, 15 inches, it really isn't conducive to growing Kentucky bluegrass and some of the yards that we have. The saving factor is we have a canal system, and our pioneers had foresight to put in reservoirs in the mountains, and that's why the whole state could blossom the way it did. And if we didn't have that, and secondary water will allow us to provide those nice green lawns. Maybe they might not be as large as they used to because more people are conservation minded, but allow us to have nice yards and not have to become a desert landscape area. Between the entrance of Frito Heights and all the way down to basically the Sinclair next to the Malad River, for some reason years ago that piece of grass got turned over to the city to maintain, water, to mow, and trying to keep that little piece of lawn, that park strip area, green. We were using up to about 100,000 gallons a month just trying to keep it green. There's no shade. It gets heavily salted and sanded by UDOT every winter. And so me and my crew made a decision, maybe it was wrong, to remove that grass and put rock in it. Well, that saved us 100,000 gallons a month there, just doing that little bit of work there. Those are things that homeowners could do. Also, look at your flower beds, use some mulch. City has compost down here that you can put in your lawns and gardens to help hold the water, make our clay a little less dense. It's not a fertilizer, but it is a soil amender, so it will help put some humus and stuff into your clay. Utilize that, mulch your plants, and look at areas where you can cut back, if you can do rockscape in certain areas, bushes and things, to get away from the grass. Grass is easy, but it does take a lot of water. Other things might take less water, but they do take a little more work sometimes because you have to keep the weeds down once you take the yard out, the grass out. But just look at those things. There's all kinds of websites. Go to Utah Division of Water Resources. They have a website, and they have all kinds of ideas that citizens can do to make their more water-wise landscaping. And if you've noticed, the city, we're trying to do that ourselves. We've removed the grass in Jenny Stevens Park strip area next to the sidewalk and road. We're doing some features at the senior center, removing a lot of their grass. We're just kind of in the middle of the project now. We try to do it in-house around other projects so we can save money from having to hire outside contractors to do it. If you look at the new walking trail, we've done a lot down there at the trailhead up top on water-wise, zero-scaping landscape. And those are key things you can look at. Just use ideas. Steal ideas from your neighbors. Drive around town. There's beautiful neighborhoods in Tremonton that, they take pride in their lawns. Most Tremontons do. And we like to see that. Looking at secondary in the early 2000s, when we built Jenny Stevens Park, we put a pump system in that we were able to water Jenny Stevens Park and also the school district at Alice C. Harris. So we were able to take those parks off of our culinary system and put them on secondary. And so that took place in 2001. Prior to that, the city parks A lot of them are water through an under drain system that we collect the water and use it to irrigate, so they're not on city water. They're slowly probably going to become on the full secondary system. But we started back in 2001 and then expanded to the west side of the freeway. And then the city council decided the cost was going to be too great, and so they backed off on secondary until around 2018. We seen that this was our future. Things we had tried with water development, because you don't know the quality, you don't know the quantity, you drill a well, and then you come up a little short, and it's not where you need to be. And so we backed off from doing those kind of water development to developing our secondary system, working with the canal system, the canal company, acquiring some water shares, because just like Tremonton City has water rights, the canal company has the water rights. We purchase shares from existing shareholders to provide the water to Tremonton City. The core part of Tremonton City hadn't been irrigated for years, and those shares had moved away from that property, so we had to get shares back so that we could water core neighborhoods and subdivisions that had come in since the 50s that didn't have water attached to them. So we started expanding, and in 2018 we did a big project. In 2019 we did what we call Service Area 3, which was the southwest portion of Tremonton, all the way from the railroad tracks to 1000 West Iowa String down to the freeway at Rocket Road. Since then, last year we expanded and did Service Area 5, which is which is the north part of Tremonton from the railroad tracks all the way to the river across, and those are people are hooking on at this point right now. We've got other areas, Service Area 2, which is around Jenny Stevens Park and Alice C. Harris, that has expanded. Our Service Area 1 is on the west side of the freeway, and it's expanded with the construction of subdivisions and stuff. So currently we've got majority of town covered. We'll do next year what we call Service Area 4, which is the core part of Old Tremonton, up Tremont Street from the railroad tracks basically to the river at 2nd East, and that will all get, and at that point we'll be just left with the outlying areas that will be coming soon, which are the east side of the Malad River, Service Area 9, and that will be expanding as development comes on the east side of the river. You know, we kind of held off on doing road projects for a couple years, and the reason why is we knew we were going to be cutting a lot of streets, putting secondary in. And so what we did is held off and figured that once we got the secondary in and those streets patched, that we would have a large amount of streets that we would do a chip seal over. And that's a means where you take and apply an oil, and then we lay down a 3/8 inch chip, which is a rock, and then it is rolled into the asphalt, and then we come back about a week later. They'll start putting what we call a fog coat, which is a black coating on it, and that's to help keep the chips down, because we don't want windows broken. We don't want to be having to sweep up chips out of curbs and gutters for years and years, and so we put the fog coat down to help keep those chips in place. And if you've been anywhere around town, right now they're finishing up the north side of Main Street. Here towards the end of the week, they'll be coming to the south side of Main Street, doing those neighborhoods that we recently put secondary in from all the way from 2017 to current. Now, you might notice a road in front of your house that hey, they didn't chip this road here, and it was cut with secondary. If your road wasn't chipped, the reason why is there's a new culinary line that's going to be installed to replace the older line in the next year or two. And so we didn't want to spend money to chip a road and have to come back in and cut it again. And so we'll probably cut it and chip it in a later time, or either we will rebuild the whole road depending on which road it is. But we do have some core roads throughout town that have older water lines put in the 30s, that we will come in and we're going to replace them, put new service lines to people's homes or to their property, and install new fire hydrants on bigger mains. And that's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. You'll see some of those projects roll out. We are also doing, and you've probably noticed, East Tremonton, we've got a sewer project that we're doing, replacing an old concrete sewer line with a new PVC sewer line that can handle more flows and be more efficient and less chances of having issues with backups or things. Older lines will get cracks. You worry about tree roots getting in it. You worry about debris coming in. And so we're replacing all those lines. And that project started in Kent's parking lot, which you probably noticed, and going out to 1150 East. And then that's where the project will end for now. But city's pretty busy, plus all the little things we got going on. But that's in the utility departments, and a lot going on.
Tremonton City's annual Hay Days event will be held on Friday and Saturday, July 21st through 22nd, but the fun kicks off on Monday, July 17th with the Goose Chase Community Scavenger Hunt. Assemble your team and complete challenges to gain a prize in the end. On Friday, bounce houses open at 9 a.m., vendor booths open at 4 p.m., and the community dinner will be held at 6 p.m. Try your skills in the cornhole tournament and enjoy a concert in the park at 6:30. The movie Field of Dreams starts at dusk. On Saturday, wake up early for the annual 5K and enjoy a pancake breakfast. At 9 a.m., the car show starts, bounce houses and vendors open, and the baby contest will be held. Baseball games are next, and food trucks join the party at 10 a.m. Show off your youth by playing water kickball at 1 p.m. and watch the magic show at 4 p.m. Bingo and family games start at 5, followed by Yard Game Mania at 6. The concert in the park is at 8, and fireworks cap off the night at 10. Next week, we'll recap Tremonton's Hay Days and find out who's winning the Entrepreneur Challenge between local police departments. Check it out next week on Talk of the Town.